De encontrar. Soy así, ya es muy tarde para cambiar. Yo no espero nada, vivo sin rumbo. Solo quiero amar cada segundo. Soy aquel.
Welcome back, everybody, to the A Little Less Fear podcast. Today, I would love to welcome Laurie Parente. Is well known in mediumship, angel connections, and meditative healing journeys. As the CEO and founder of Parente Inner Harmony Academy, Laurie offers private one-on-one sessions and quarterly live Reclaim Your Light healing courses. Her passion lies in fostering genuine connections for her clients with their inner wisdom and spiritual support teams. Welcome to A Little Less Fear podcast, Laurie.
Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to be here.
Thank you. I'm so grateful that you're here and that you're open and just sharing your light with the world. And I'm really interested to know, first off, what got you on this spiritual journey? What got you on the spiritual path?
So I've always been very, very connected with angels. I was really sickly when I was young. I spent the first 2 years of my life in hospital. It was the 1960s, and they did not know what celiac disease is. If you can imagine that now, it's very prevalent now, and we can talk about why. But that was a time where families weren't allowed to visit. There was certain visiting hours, maybe for 20 minutes a day, half an hour a day. So I spent my first 2 years with my angels, my angelic team, and they just became, my buddies and my friends. And I've always been so connected. There was definitely times in my life where externals would tell me it was wrong or it was weird or it was crazy, and I would learn that it was not safe for me to share it in certain places. But got into my 40s after raising 4 children and went, you know what? It's getting way more painful to not be authentic. I've got to step into this more. And I had many friends who were like, you've got to share this. You've got to share what you do. So I started taking courses and stepping in and finding my light and finding how to share it.
Laurie, thank you for that. Laurie, how did you know that you were communicating with angels back then?
I didn't really know when I was little. It was just normal for me. When I was 4 years old, there was a huge angel on the neighbor's lawn, and these neighbors were like grandparents to me. And I said to my mom, that angel's here because he's going to die. And that was kind of the first time I remember speaking about angels and having it reflected back to me that, whoa, you can't go around saying stuff like that.
What did the angel look like?
It's just like diaphanous silk, white, and just like a huge white light. But it was bigger than the house.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Bigger than the house. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And inherently, or just intuitively, I guess, or inherently, I guess we could use those words synonymously, but did you felt right away, you knew that was an angel?
Yes. As I said, I'd known them my whole life, and I think this was just the first time that I really vocalized what it was about, and the first time that I got that feedback that you can't go around talking about these things. It's not right. It's not good. You can't just say stuff like that. Because it was, by then the early 70s, and people weren't talking about angels.
And so when you were told this, that's something you shouldn't be talking about or bringing up, did you then have a block to allow yourself to see angels or welcome them into your view after that?
Not as much. I could see the difference between angels and people who had passed. It just became a private life. It was like I had this inner rich life, and then I had this life where I was trying to be like a good girl. I was trying to morph to what everyone expected of me.
Sure.
So it just became very internal. And then, of course, as a teenager, when teenagers tend to try out different things that maybe change their how am I trying to say this? Change their outlook. They start to experiment with different substances, then it would come out like it would just come out. And people would, 15, 16 years old, oh my gosh, she's crazy. Don't listen to her. She's talking about dead people. She's talking about angels. And it just kind of went in waves in my life. And I found I would know when it was safe to share. And I wouldn't otherwise. But it kind of cut me in half, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, it makes sense to me. It makes sense to me because as you mentioned that it wasn't till you were older that you were able to finally be authentic with it, that you were finally able to come, I guess I'm assuming, and I'm feeling that more into your own light and why you were given this ability to be able to see angels in or that realm, correct?
Correct. Yeah. And even then it was I still have times when I will feel into the situation, feel into the person. Is this a place where sharing this would be good for all concerned, or is it a place where I can just maybe give this over energetically?
Makes sense. It's perfect sense. So going back to the first angel vision, that the story that you told, did you notice, I guess I'm curious, just for my own, I'm just curious, does the angel or do angels, when they do appear to people, do they have faces, or is it always in the form of their eternity, which is their eternal light?
I have seen faces, but they're more like what you would think of like a Roman statue, is what I see. Like more of marble. Like it's not they don't speak to me they speak to
More
me
telepathic.
telepathically, right?
Yeah.
So it's more, and it's a good question. It's more kind of the presence than what I actually see, and just knowing. It's a claircognizance, a clair knowing that they're here. And I will get flashes of whites and golds and colors, and sometimes like just like almost like like the goddess Athena kind of face.
Hmm. That's beautiful, actually. And I can imagine that it's an angel because of the peace that you feel when you see this angel, when you see this light.
When you connect in with them, it's peace, it's serenity, it's calm, it's the knowing that no matter what is happening, everything is okay. And it's that feeling of being held, held in the light.
That's beautiful. And when angels come to you or they appear to you, is that usually to tell you that someone is about to pass away?
That has happened. I found out later in life that I could kind of direct that because I would early on have someone come to me and tell an angel come to me and tell me, and I would be like, am I supposed to let the person know? Am I like, why is this information coming to me? And then I was like, do I want to know this? Do I want to know if somebody's going to pass? Or would I rather connect in for messages of support and help and healing? And I remember having a conversation with my team in spirit and saying, maybe we can just turn that off because I don't know if it's serving anybody.
I love that. And so in connecting with your team, I'm assuming you mean your spirit guides?
So guides and angels and what I call my soul star family, the
Oh,
ones
I
who,
love that. Soul Star family.
yeah, the ones who I had the big meeting with before I came here and
Oh,
decided to incarnate and decided what I was going to grow through and expand through. And they'll be the ones that I go back to, I believe, when we talk about, people will call it like a life review. I believe I'll go back to my soul star family and we'll figure it out and see how it went. And I'm always in connection with them. And yeah, there's angels, there's mentors, there's guides, there's different teachers I can bring in at different times. And then there's my people that are there too.
I love this. Your people. Who are your
Yes.
people?
So my mom and my dad and all of my grandparents have passed. A friend and some mentors who were embodied and are now disembodied. The team is kind of it kind of flows, right?
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And the your people or ancestors, and they can all communicate in unison with your soul star family, because they are now part of the soul star family, correct?
Right. I believe we can consciously connect into whoever we want to connect into as long as we feel worthy. There are some relationships. I'll give you the example of my dad. We did not have a great human relationship. I barely saw him the last 30 years of his life. And I ended up being there as he was passing. And then after he passed, he would come through. He was very excited to connect. And I was like, dude, I'm not ready. I haven't forgiven you yet. And so I had to do that work on the human level on forgiveness. And then once I was ready, I was able to connect with him. And the relationship we have now is just magical. I just love it when he comes in or when I call him in. It's beautiful. And so sometimes we don't connect in with him right away because there's a little bit of stuff we've got to do for ourselves to open our hearts a little bit more. And for me, that was a big forgiveness piece.
Yeah, I definitely can feel that. Forgiveness is huge, because then you're able to unblock whatever's been blocking your heart from receiving the divine part of that energy.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Just some resistance there. And it really showed me that no matter what our human relationships are like, no matter what kind of suffering we go through, we can clean that up, and then we can connect soul to soul. We don't have to wait until we die.
I love this.
Yeah.
So on the topic of crossing over when they're on the other side, from your knowledge or your experience, does the energy on the other side, or let's just say our loved ones, I've heard the whole thing where they get life reviews when they pass away. Is the life review something that happens immediately, or is this something that happens like within their soul growth in the afterlife?
I think it's hard to answer because we don't understand how there's no time. How
That's true. That's
time is
true.
a human construct,
Right,
you know?
right. Yeah.
So when I hear people say, "Oh, my loved one just passed and I couldn't connect into them because I know they're in their healing pod or their life review," I always think, but they don't have any time. And I've seen so many things where I connect with people who have just passed, or I connect with people who have been gone a while and I see them healing. So it's a little bit hard to say when we don't really understand
That
time.
makes sense, right? That's
Yeah.
so true. I mean, someday we'll understand. We'll have
And
a
and
better
also
understanding.
once they cross, they're multidimensional, so they can be in, like, people will say, how can you say my father's with me, but he's also with my sister at the same time? Well, because their
Right?
multidimensionality allows them to be in many spaces at once.
Yeah. I try to explain this to my mother, because she's so my brother passed away just 9 months ago, and she's pretty adamant that he's at the house. I'm like, no, I'm pretty sure he's everywhere, you know?
Mhm.
Or I'll be like, today's my birthday, he's hanging out with me. She was like, no, he's here with me. I'm like, no, he's everywhere. I try to tell
Right,
her this and remind her, I'm pretty sure he's everywhere.
right.
But people hold on to the concept of the physicality, and that the physicality can only be in one place.
It's pretty hard in the human mind to get beyond time and space.
Yes, yes, it is. Yes,
Hmm.
it absolutely is. And so when you connect, something that you mentioned right now, I'm coming to talk to you. So you mentioned that you were going to talk to, or we can ask to talk to our loved ones rather than waiting for them to come talk to us.
Hmm.
Is there anything that we need to do to prepare ourselves to talk to our loved ones on the other side? Like perhaps, I mean, example, sometimes I feel like for me to connect with my brother, I have to get into the zone. So I'll either light a candle, or I'll start looking at pictures of him, or I'll hold on to his scarf or put on his watch. I kind of prepare the energy. Do we need to prepare the energy? I mean, or can we just get into a state of comfort and just start talking to them?
I think everyone is at their own level. They're at their own, going at their own pace. And if it brings them comfort to light a candle or wear a watch or have a scarf, and they feel that that's how they connect, then that's how they connect. Sometimes we have too many rules around things like this.
Yeah.
And very interestingly, about a month ago, I was connecting into a dear friend of mine lost her niece, and she's having a little bit of time. It's hard for her to connect with her, and it's just this resistance that she has. And so I was connecting in with her niece, and I said, like, what can she do? She said, she's making it too complicated. And she gave me, I believe, the most beautiful words I've ever heard from Spirit. She said, tell her to smile me into her heart and feel
Oh,
my energetic hug.
oh, I love that.
So, and like it brings tears, like it's just so beautiful. So I say to people, and you can try this if you want to, Lino, just close your eyes, smile your brother into your heart,
Oh, I
and
love
feel
this.
his energetic hug. Feel what he feels like.
I love this.
And it doesn't have to be that complicated.
All right. To smile his energy into my heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see, I can see that you're lighting up, you're
Yeah,
smiling, your eyes are lighting up. It's when things are very simple, they ring very true for us.
absolutely.
Smile me into your heart and feel my energetic hug. And just
Absolutely
start
love this.
there. And then when you can feel their energy, ask some questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to get people to just say, where are you?
Mhm.
And the number one answer people will get back is, I'm right here.
That's exactly that's my answer.
Right?
Almost on the daily, I'll be like, "Oh, brother, where are you?" He'll be like, "I'm right here."
I'm right
I'll hear
here.
it. It obviously it's not through my audible ear, but it's telepathically, and it's instantaneously. It's instant. I'm like, "What? Whoa!"
And sometimes we even get that answer before we finish the question.
Yes, it's happened to me too. That's exact. I'll be like, "What? What? Oh, well, you're right here." Or I'll get an image in my head of him waving.
Yeah,
Like an image comes in, and I'm like, "Oh, whoa! Why did I get that? I didn't think that. It just appeared in my mind, so it must be a message."
right? Smile
Speaking
it
of
into
that,
your,
how can we tell our listeners the difference between receiving a message versus thinking something?
it feels different. It absolutely feels different. When you get an image of your brother waving at you, does
Hmm.
it feel different than the thought you have afterwards? Oh, I wasn't thinking that. It
That's
feels
usually my
different,
response. Like I know I didn't think that because for me, when I think of something, it's more like a push, right? Like
right?
pushing a thought versus it just appearing in my mind.
It's just an impression, right?
Hmm.
It's energetic. So it's a matter of, so what I have noticed is that people will get a direct communication. Either they'll hear words or they'll feel energy or they'll just have a knowing or an impression. And the first instinct is to just kind of go, wow, because it feels so good. And the second thing is your head will try to talk you out of it.
Yes. So exactly. So what can we tell our listeners when because I'm almost certain this happens because I mean I've experienced it with my friends that have lost loved ones. Almost always they try to say, "Oh, but that's not them or that's not maybe I'm just wanting to see this. I'm wanting to hear this." It's like right away they shun it. It's like how can we keep welcoming the energy of our loved ones when they are communicating with us and how can we trust that it's them and not anything else, especially if we're not really aware of our intuition.
Well, I mean, everybody's intuitive, right? And if you're getting the message, you're definitely intuitive and you're definitely connected. So when that second thing happens where your thoughts try to talk you out of it, I always say, stop and say, is that true?
Mhm.
And then we always think, no, it's not true. The first impression was true. So then go back to the first one and spend some time with it. And eventually you get to the point where those second thoughts disappear because you trust what's coming through.
And almost always your first impression is the truth, correct?
How did it feel? Did it feel like a warm hug? Did it feel like it was impressed from somewhere else? You know, those, when my kids were little, there was a thing at the science center where you pushed your hand into the nails and then you could see your
Yeah,
nail
I remember that.
hand come through, right? Did it feel like it was being impressed on you? Did it feel like maybe something on your inner screen came up? Did your heart start to pound? Did you get a little sweaty? How did it feel is more important than what you think about it.
Yeah, I love this. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Because your feelings are not going to lie.
Right? Your body will not lie to you. Your intuition will not lie to you. Your head will try to talk you out of it because it's trying to keep you safe because society says that's crazy.
Yeah. Thank you
Is
so
that
much.
true? Is it crazy? No, it's the truth. It's authentic. It's a connection.
Thank you for normalizing that. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
So going back to the subject of Soul Star family, spirit guides, ancestors, angels. I guess okay, so this is more of a personal question. I have this angelic meditation that I do. And then I don't know if it's because I haven't really fully tried to connect with all my spirit guides, although I've done some meditations and I have seen my spirit guides and I can feel what they look like in my mind. But I feel more of a connection with angels and almost and I know that maybe I need to perhaps maybe dive a little deeper with the spirit guides, but for some reason in my mind, I trust the angels over the spirit guides, and I'm wondering why that is. And I'm wondering if that's the same with other people. What I have found is that angels come to help me immediately, but I don't feel that help with spirit guides. So I wonder if maybe that's a block for myself or if spirit guides versus angels have different roles.
What if it's all semantics and they're all the same? um, what I mean, angels to me are just pure love, and spirit guides are ones that we can go to when we're looking for help with something, or just when we're being very general, like, I'm feeling kind of depressed and I don't know why, and helping get support for that. But I feel so often that there's like this crossover that our human brain is trying to put too many categories. I remember when I first started studying angels, and it would say, this angel does this angel does this is the angel you call on for this. And I just
I've
got
heard that.
so in my head on everything that I
Yeah.
was just hand on heart. Okay, my angels, I'm needing some support right now. Whoever has the best guidance for me, come forward.
Oh, I love that. Whoever has
And
the best guidance for me, come forward.
and just being held in that and not getting caught up in
Roles.
roles.
Hmm.
Yeah, and just trusting that whoever can support you the most in that moment, be it an angel, be it a spirit guide, be it a mentor, or a teacher, whatever words you want to use. That's why I like to say my soul star family or my spirit team or my team in spirit, and not get, I'm very mental person and I can get up there very quickly. So it helps me to just be more general when I'm talking to my guides or my angels or my team.
I love that. And I love that the word team is in there because with the word team in there, then there's more of the trusting effect of they're all working together.
Yes. And I am part of the team. We're
Yeah.
all working together, right? I'm
Yeah.
just the one who was brave enough to come here during this time of great change. Sometimes I wonder what I was thinking.
Yeah. I
Um,
know, right? Holy moly.
but I am part of the team. We're doing this together. I'm not doing this alone.
Absolutely love this. Thank
Yeah,
you, Laurie.
you're welcome.
And so then you have clients and you help clients understand this part of their life as far as like angel connection, spirit connection, their own intuition or their own abilities or their skills with psychic mediumship. How
Mhm.
do you do this? How do you help them?
So, it's about connecting in when I'm working with a client in the session, how I see it is my team is talking to their team.
Okay.
And they're relaying what's best for that person right now. I deal with a lot of people who have what I call carried grief. You would probably agree that we live in a society that's pretty grief illiterate, and people are carrying grief and trauma and things for 40 years, and they don't even know how much it's affecting their life.
Right.
And they get to a point where they feel it's too painful to go into the pain. Like it's just too much. And so people like me who can speak with the angels, we find ways to get into that pain, and through shamanic journeys or mediumship or whatever comes through to help them to release that pain and start living their lives from a place of more light.
How did a process like that begin?
Usually before a session or a group session or an individual session, I tune in. I'll take about 10 minutes. I'll do some automatic writing with my team and tune into what the person or the group needs, what's going to help them. And it's always different and it's always exciting and it's always surprising where we go, because I believe I'm like a conduit of the energy to help them to find their way through their pain and their connection, how to find their connection so that they're able to connect with their team and have these conversations with their team.
And when you're connecting to all the energies involved, their team and your team, and you're at this point, you're a conduit, a messenger. What do you feel like at the very end of giving these healing messages? Do you ever feel drained or do you feel energized?
Energized, for sure. It took me a little while to realize how to shut that energy down, because it will keep running if I don't, and then I'll be sleeping and I'll just have faces and all these things popping up in these wild dreams. But I worked with a shaman who helped me learn how to close the energy down once the session is complete.
And in closing energy down, is that done with a mantra or a different or something else?
I am very quick, so I always tell my team or the shaman I was working with, give me something that I can do in 10 seconds, or I'm going to forget and get up and go do something else. So this has been working for me for a while, where I just put my arms out, and if you're just listening to this, my arms go straight out, and I say, I'll close all doorways and pathways, and I'll bring my hands together, and I ground into this moment, into my energy. And I just close it up.
I love this.
I like simple things. I like things that are easy to work with. And that's why when the Smile Me Into Your Heart came through, I was like, oh, and it's really, I'm having a lot of success working with people with that.
Have you had any first-time clients where they were non-believers or just didn't believe in the spiritual realm whatsoever, and you were able to have them open their heart to it? Or are they usually more keen to
I mean,
your energy?
I think people coming to me are open on different levels. I have had mediumship events where somebody will bring their friend, who's really closed down, and those are the people that the spirits always come to because they want to open them up. But normally, I'm kind of in a bit of an echo chamber. The people that I work with are open, right?
I have a question going back to the beginning. You had mentioned that we can, or you were able to, and I'm assuming that if you can, then most people that have this ability can reach out to their soul star family. If there's something that they have ability that they're doing a lot of, that's maybe something that's no longer serving you, your energy, or other people's energy. And we have the ability to talk to them and be like, let's just, kind of turn that volume down, or let's do away with it because I don't really need, it's not helping me. Are we also able to ask for a certain ability?
I think we are in charge and we have no idea how powerful we are, how many abilities we have. People will say, did you write that into your contract? Did you write that ability into your contract? Does it live in your genetic line? And I believe we can. I've talked to people who were not natural mediums, who were not natural channelers, who just had something happen, and they said, I want to open to this. And I think as long as it is in alignment with your path and it's not hurting anyone, I think my answer would be yes, we can turn our abilities on.
I love this. That's beautiful. As long as it's for your greater good and the greater good of everyone involved.
Right.
Could you tell us a story or of a situation that you had where you were able to, I guess, help someone through some of their stresses or their pains or their traumas and coming out a lot lighter on this side?
Interesting. You had just asked me if people were coming to me as non-believers, and the story that's coming up is that. So,
Okay, great.
um, sometimes people will send friends or relatives to a medium, to an intuitive, saying, "You got to talk to this person. They're really going to help you out," and this person isn't really open to it, and that's what happened in this situation. So I had someone call me. They were in their car, they were on the side of the road on their phone, and it was the day before their wedding, and their aunt had booked the appointment. And there was such a part of me, I'm like, "You're getting married tomorrow. What are you doing? Do you want to do this later?" And she said, "No, my aunt said you could tell me something." And her arms were crossed and she was all closed down. And I said, "I think you're trying to connect in with your grandfather." And she said, "Yes." And I said, "I'm going to tell you, sometimes spirits will say, they'll give me direct messages, and other times they'll give me things for you to put together. So I'm seeing white roses, I'm seeing a dragonfly, and I'm seeing handwriting. And you tell me what it means." And she broke down in tears because her grandfather had passed 4 months before. And the night before at the rehearsal dinner, her maid of honor had given her a silver dragonfly, like in a circular thing, with her grandfather's handwriting on it to put around her bouquet of white roses.
Wow, that's beautiful.
And he kept saying, "I'm here, I'm with the flowers, I'm with the flowers." And it was just a moment, it was a very quick session, but it was enough for her to open up to her grandfather being with her on her wedding day.
That's incredible, and that's beautiful.
Yeah,
And I'm certain that's the message that she needed right at
she
that
needed.
moment.
And that's always, I'm a big believer in, people will say, "Is my friend here?" And I'll say, "I don't know. Is your friend here? Let's smile him into your heart and see what you get." Like, we're so used to going to outside sources. And yes, I can tell you, I had a friend text me last week, "This is going on. What's happening? Do you think?" And I said, "You tell me. Get quiet. Be brave enough to listen. And you tell me what's happening." I think sometimes people need to remember that we can all do this.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you for that. On the same subject, are pendulums effective and are they our own energy or is it the energies of our star family?
It's one of those things, if it works for you, work with it. If cards work for you, if crystals work for you, whatever works for you, if you find that in working with the pendulum and it's helping you, work with it. I believe that it's us connecting into our higher self, which is connected to our soul star family, or part of our soul star family. And you'll go through different times. I had probably 2 years where I really worked with the pendulum diligently. And then I realized I could do that within myself. I could figure out what my yes and no and not yet was in my body. And I didn't need to be carrying the pendulum. Other people love using a pendulum. So does it work for you? Does it bring you joy? Does it take you where you want to go? Then do it.
You mentioned you feel it in your body. What do you mean by that?
Shall we try it? It's very easy.
Yeah, let's try it.
Okay. So if you want to just like breathe into your heart, get your energy out of your head and bring it into your heart.
Yeah.
Close your eyes and just say, "Body, show me my yes."
So, my guess.
And notice what happens. Is your body moving at all? Are you feeling energy anywhere at all?
Yes, actually, when I said that, immediately I paid attention to my heart.
Okay.
I felt and I heard the beating of my heart.
Okay. Now we'll do the same thing. So big breath in, get into your heart. Body, show me my no.
What I'm feeling when I say no is energy in my fingertips.
Okay.
Almost like energy in my fingertips. That's the only way I could describe it.
Perfect. Perfect. One more time. Big deep breath in and close your eyes. Body show me my not yet.
My not yet? Okay. My not yet felt in my stomach area. I all of a sudden imagined and saw my stomach breathing.
Okay.
So I imagined that's my not yet, my gut.
Right. And not yet is like it's possible, right? So what else do we need to know when we're making any decisions about how we act, what we do, who we interact with, where we go, other than yes, no, and not yet?
I love this.
So there's your using your body as a pendulum.
And can that change?
It can change. I was working in a class this morning and we redid it, and I said, and two people said, wow, that's changed for me. So checking in maybe once a month. What is my yes? What's my no? What my not yet? And if it does change, then you're aware of it.
Oh, I love this. This is excellent. Thank you so much.
There's only really 3 decisions we ever make, right?
Right. Yes, no, or not yet.
Yeah.
And can we describe, we mentioned the higher self a few times for people tuning in for the first time. Who is and what is a higher self?
So, I mean, you'll hear lots of different terms: over self, over soul, spirit, higher self. To me, again, it's all semantics. It's that part of us that is beyond our body that is connected to source, and whatever you want to call source. That part of us that is all knowing and eternal and that we're connected to. That's what higher self means to me. Does that mean that to you?
It does. To me, it's the connection. So when I think of higher self, because what I've learned is that our soul is outside of our body. Like our soul has a body, correct? Not that the soul is in our body, but it's outside of us. And so I feel that that energy or that soul is the higher self. That's just, I guess you could say, around our physical body at all times.
Right.
And when we pass on or we leave, we get disembodied or leave this physical form, that energy just gets sucked back up or absorbed back into that realm, our soul. And that, to me, that's our higher self. It just
Right.
goes back to our higher self.
Right. So, soul or spirit or higher self. I love when I first started studying mediumship with James Van Prague. He said, when you think about how big and massive and your energy is, it's like just your big toe is in your body.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow, it's really incredible. And so when people pass on, then that's who we're communicating with, their higher self.
Their higher self, their soul, their spirit. To me, yeah, like I said, it's semantics. Sometimes we try to divide stuff up too much and put it in categories. And if we can make it simple, I think it makes it easier for people, because it's when we get stuck in our head trying to have all these definitions that we're not in our hearts connecting.
I absolutely love this. That's right. Because we're labeling things and we're making things physical and more human, heart bound rather than fluid and ever present.
Right. Right. And that non-attachment of not having to be attached to a label.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a question in regards to when someone's about to pass. Is there a portion of their human energy or their human spirit, or is there higher self? Here's the question. So in regards to my brother's energy, it was literally about 3 weeks before he passed away. And I remember it being early morning and I was in the kitchen. I just ate breakfast and I was washing dishes. And his energy came to me. And I right away I was like, no, why are you coming to me like this? This is the way spirit comes to me when I'm doing a reading or I'm tapping into the other side. I'm like, you're still here. Why am I hearing you like this? And I right away I didn't want to hear it, but it was like, oh, he's still alive. So how is this possible? That's what I didn't understand, and to this day I'm still not sure I understand that.
I think the first time I was in a reading and I connected into someone who was living, and it wasn't someone who was sick, it was someone who was just living their life.
Oh, wow.
The first time I was like, what? This isn't mediumship. You aren't on the other side. What's happening here?
Yeah.
But then I realized I was really connecting into people's families and into their people. And why have we put this line on mediumship that we can only connect with those who have crossed? If we're
So true.
multidimensional beings who can be in so many places at once, why can't we connect when they're alive as well? And I think this is where we're going, is this as we are working more with telepathy and connection and understanding connection, there's not going to be this line in the sand of you're here and you're not here,
Right.
and I can
Right.
communicate
Oh, I
with you,
love
but
this.
not
Right.
you, right?
Sure.
And I do find that very, very helpful for people who have dementia, that people who can't speak anymore or they have Alzheimer's and their families can't speak to them, you still can, right? You can still speak soul to soul. And so I see that
Wow,
going
that's beautiful.
going
And what a
kind of
wonderful
away,
point that is. What a
right?
wonderful point that is.
Yeah. That distinction is just a human concept of what mediumship is.
Right.
Yeah.
This actually allows me to feel it more as a more fluid.
Right? Because we can connect into, you know, those when we're having a moment and we're thinking of a friend and then they text us.
Sure.
Isn't that mediumship? Isn't it connecting
Right.
soul to
It
soul?
is. Yeah.
Right? And so is mediumship like just telepathy, whether you're embodied or disembodied?
What an excellent question. I think it is.
I think it is,
I feel it is.
right? It's we've put so many rules on ourselves, haven't we?
We really have. And as I'm having this discussion with you, I'm realizing that, I mean, more than ever, I feel that, I mean, everyone's starting to come into this alignment nowadays. It could be this new generation and or this time of age that we're all in, but I'm feeling that people are coming into their light a little more and allowing themselves to be more telepathic and really seeing it as it not just a coincidence, but as something that we are innately able to do as human beings.
Mm-hmm. And I think, are we the first, last couple of centuries where we're so stuck on the only way of communication is physical language? You know, our ancestors communicated in so many
Yeah,
different
they knew this
ways.
stuff.
Yeah,
They already knew this stuff.
right.
So
And
we're maybe coming back to our roots, the way we started off.
right, when you look at the shamans in the indigenous cultures, many of them don't speak very much.
I haven't really, I've had maybe a couple shamans on my podcast, but I personally have never met one in person to really know how they communicate or how they think. But from what you're telling me, I guess they're really just going in communicating with their intuition
Energetically, yeah.
energetically. That's really incredible and
And if you
beautiful.
go back to the time in your life when you couldn't speak, did you have more of an understanding of telepathy and energy and all at that point?
I
Could you
can't
feel
say
it?
that the first year I did, but perhaps the second year when I started meditating, because the first year I was just really intertwined with the pain of paralyzed vocal cords and being in distress with inability to do things physically.
Mhm.
But when I started to meditate and pray more often, I then became definitely and absolutely more um, trusting of my intuitions and signs and synchronicities, and just allowing the universe to guide me and show me what my inner navigation tools were like.
Yeah. There's so much communication that happens beyond our words.
There really is.
And we know that even body language, right?
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Lori, what can people do, like your average person, to sharpen their intuition skills? I've heard things like, well, eat organic or eat more vegetables or stop eating meat or, start meditating more, go for walks in nature. Do you have any tips or tools like that that you can recommend?
Start with your yes, no, and not yet, and really, really tune into
Yes.
that.
Okay.
right?
I love
And
those.
just even do it in a restaurant when you're trying to decide between
Oh,
what things to
yeah.
eat. And if you listen to, I
Oh,
mean, this
wow.
person will say, don't eat meat. This person will say, just eat vegetable. Like, start tuning in. Is this food a yes, no, or a not yet, or a not now, right?
Okay.
And just go with that and start small, because what you want to do is build up that trust factor.
Yes.
I like to say, this is a really good one with angels. I say, angels, like, go find me a great parking spot. Lead me to a great parking spot and then follow that feeling to where that parking spot is going to be. Or, I'd love a great conversation today. Bring someone into my life where I can have a really good connective conversation. And just start trusting that it's going to happen, it's going to appear. But using that yes, no, not yet, or not right now, really starts changing the pathways in your brain, and you start trusting that you know what's right for you. So even though if you're listening to two different podcasts and they say to do two different ones, which one feels like a yes for you? Because
Yeah,
you are the only one who knows what's right and what's true for you. And if you're
absolutely.
taking in all these external sources, then you're just going to get confused,
Right. And that's really, yeah, I guess, tuning into the subtleness of that answer.
right? Being able to get quiet enough to listen and brave enough to follow.
Oh, I love that. Quiet enough to listen and brave enough to follow. I have to write that down. Quiet enough to listen and brave enough to follow. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So how do you help clients? Do you help them in person only or through Zoom online? How do you help?
A mixture. I do a lot of Zoom. I think that the gift of 2020 was connecting us more through this kind of
Yes,
platform.
absolutely.
I do in person as well. I'm in Calgary, in Alberta. I don't know if you know where that is.
I've never been.
Have you ever heard of Banff National Park? It's a big park that's very famous in the mountains.
I haven't, but now I have to go.
Very close to Banff National Park. So I do in-person mediumship events, small events or large events, and then I love to work with people one-on-one. And I know a lot of healers will get to the point where they'll write their book, they'll put out their card deck, and then they're like, I don't do one-on-one sessions anymore. But that's the fun part for me. That's what I love to do. So that's how I work with people. And I do quarterly classes, Reclaim Your Light. I'm actually in one right now. We just finished day one. So,
Oh, you just finished one right now? Reclaim Your Light. I love the sound of that, and I love the feel of that too.
yeah, it's all about your intuition and mediumship and finding your connection to your heart light.
I absolutely love this. How can our viewers, our watchers, and our listeners find you and get a hold of you?
Well, I'm just at easypeasy laurieparente.com. I'm on YouTube. I do Friday resets on YouTube, Laurie Parente, and Instagram at Laurie Parente.
Laurie Parente, everybody. This has been really an incredible opportunity that I had to connect with your loving light energy. Thank you so much for sharing all of your wisdom with us, and I look forward to keeping in touch with you.
You are so welcome. Thank you.
Absolutely.